change, I find everything strange. Hope you do too. I'm gonna learn me my lesson and move on. I'm gonna keep on loving till the love is gone. 'Cause I can see that sometimes we get somehow strong, and I do it all alone. Did you? High hopes and short ropes, I try to change my scope. Hope you do too. Strong nights and fist fights, I'm down by the bright lights. Hope you are too. I'm gonna learn me my lesson and move on. I wanna keep on loving till the loving's gone. I'm gonna learn me my lesson and move on. I'm gonna keep on loving till the loving's gone. I'm gonna learn me my lesson and move on. I'm gonna keep on loving till the loving's gone. 'Cause I can see that sometimes we get somehow strong, and I do it all alone. Did you? Did you? Did you?
And for over 15 years, we've been helping real estate agents, homeowners, and investors make more money selling homes in the Raleigh area. For a minimum investment, you get a maximum return with home staging. It's proven that homes sell in quicker time and for more money. So again, we are Professional Home Staging and Design, professionalhomestaging.com.
Hi, my name is Adam Schneider, and I'm with Oakwood Lending. You can reach us at oakwoodlending.com. And I've been with TREIA since 2012. I'm located in Raleigh, and I bought over 150 houses, so I've got plenty of experience to help you if you need a second set of eyes. When we do our loans, we don't require a loan application fee. We rarely require an appraisal. We don't charge draw fees on it. We have a quick turnaround time, usually responding within 24 hours. We're okay to do small loans. So if you have any questions or comments or just want to send a loan application, we do loans in North Carolina. We are private hard money lenders. Again, my name is Adam Schneider with Oakwood Lending.
Hello, everyone. My name is Melvin Williams, and I've been a member of TREIA for almost 3 months now. And the reason I joined TREIA was to learn more about trying to be an investor and also learning from some active, experienced investors. Again, I am a new member, and I'm as green as a spring leaf. Areas of interest that interest me most is probably rehabbing and obtaining rental property. Just a little bit about myself. I'm currently working at a company called Sears Contract. We are a construction company, and we build commercial buildings, interior and exterior walls. I've been doing that type of work now for probably 20 years. I enjoy building from ground up. I am interested in the real estate aspects of it. I've done some rehabbing for landlords and also other rehabbers. I believe that I could bring something good to the table in this and learn something as well. Opportunity to do charity work. I believe that you guys can, under the right mentorship, that you can mold me into a good investor. I believe that can happen. one of the benefits that I've seen that TREIA offer is their classes, and everybody seems to be, polite. They don't mind offering their friendship, the energy, and the members and the environment. It's very pleasant. I'm gonna leave it right there. My contact is you can reach me at my cell at 919-308-6197, or you can email me at melvinw9375@gmail.com. Thank you.
Heartaches on long breaks, I learn from my mistakes. Hope you do too. Heart turns and slow burns, the wounded heart still learns. Hope you do too. I'm gonna learn me my lesson and move on. I'm gonna keep on loving till the love is gone. 'Cause I can see that something's weak and somehow strong, and I knew it all along. Did you? Steel traps and throwbacks, I try to trace my tracks. Hope you do too. Heartaches on long breaks, I learn from my mistakes. Hope you do too. Heart turns and slow burns, the wounded heart still learns. Hope you do too. I'm gonna learn me my lesson and move on. I'm gonna keep on loving till the love is gone. 'Cause I can see that something's weak and somehow strong, and I knew it all along. Did you? Steel traps and throwbacks, I try to trace my tracks. Hope you do too. Long range and short change, I find everything strange. Hope you do too. I'm gonna learn me my lesson and move on. I'm gonna keep on loving till the love is gone. 'Cause I can see that something's weak and somehow strong, and I knew it all along. Did you? High hopes and short ropes, I try to change my scope. Hope you do too. Strong nights and fist fights, I'm down by the bright lights. Hope you are too. I'm gonna learn me my lesson and move on. I wanna keep on loving till the loving's gone. I'm gonna learn me my lesson and move on. I'm gonna keep on loving till the loving's gone. I'm gonna learn me my lesson and move on. I'm gonna keep on loving till the loving's gone. 'Cause I can see that something's weak and somehow strong, and I knew it all along. Did you? Did you? Did you?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to COVID edition, where everybody is from Fayetteville. One silver lining to our otherwise the whole Zoom meetings. Always looking very forward tonight with what Cheryl has to offer. Always learn great tips and tricks. And we were talking earlier, always come away with some great apps or websites that we never heard of. So it's always fantastic to have Cheryl's program. We have just a couple of announcements. You're probably sick of hearing about the pilot program, but this is going to be among the last times we announce it because next week information will be going out. So if you have joined the waiting list, next week you'll be getting more information. If you still want to get on that waiting list, drop us a chat here tonight or send an email to TREIAprojects@gmail.com. This is, of course, our program where you actually buy a house, rehab it, and sell it. It's a hands-on education. As you know, since we can't meet in person, we have several ways we're trying to network. One of those, if you have anything you'd like to say tonight, if you have a who's got what, something you need, something you're looking for, go ahead and put it in the chat. We'll unmute you and let you tell us about it. You can do that ahead of a meeting as well if you'd like and make a slide and send it to us. You can join the Facebook networking group. That's very active, lots of deals and lots of needs and wants and stuff going on there. And you can make a member spotlight video like you saw Melvin tonight. We have about 10 of those. We rotate them through the meetings and take turns. We would love to have yours. It's just a really good way to get to know people while we're not able to meet live. And another thing is to have your camera on, because when we get back to live meetings, if you've joined and you're trying to be active and come to meetings, but we've never seen your face, it's not going to be as effective as you might hope. It'd be really great if we see you and get to know you. So when we walk in a meeting, we can say, hey, I met that person on Zoom. It's more helpful than you might imagine. I think that's most of my announcements. I think Leslie's going to tell you what we have upcoming, and then Jackie will have a few words and we'll turn it over to Cheryl.
Yeah, we've got experience tomorrow at 12:30 with Melanie, and she's got Amanda Williams coming on, going to talk about multiple income streams and how she's quarantining in Cabo San Lucas. Of course, because that's where we all want to be. And of course, main meeting next week, Tuesday night, 6:30. Square, because that's Larry Harbolt, and the man does know some creative financing. So if you need something, you've got a lead or something that is not exactly working out the traditional way, he can probably figure out how you can monetize it without doing the traditional way. So he's got some really good ideas. And then Millennials next Thursday is going to be all about the wholesaling. Ins, outs, good, bad, not so good. And the way wholesaling is trending right now in with COVID and everything else. So it's hard sometimes to get the showings and stuff. So anyway, that is this week, next week, and then check your calendar for week after. That's it.
Jack?
Nope, just a big welcome to all of our new members. We've got quite a few. I'm sort of scanning the list, but if you're new, welcome aboard. Thank you for everyone that's turned their camera on. It's great to see faces.
Yes.
Those that don't have their camera on, I get it, but try to get there because it makes a world of difference.
Oh, come on, we don't care what your hair looks like, really.
You should have seen some of my days on here with hair after.
Yeah, I really don't care.
All right,
Well,
nobody has put
sport.
anything to share in the chat. Nobody has any good news. New grandbabies just did a deal. So with that, we'll turn it over to Cheryl and she'll take it away.
All righty.
Cheryl, you good?
Yeah, you just want to hit the present button. So it will start the presentation.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. That's me. Hold on. And
Right.
I'm going to go to slideshow. Can
Yeah.
you see it?
So it should fill up the screen, right? Yeah, very good. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Okay, so let me just do my, okay, I can see everybody now for the most part. First of all, before we start, I just have a quick question. Kathy, you were mentioning the Facebook page. Is there a link to that on the TREIA.com website?
Yes.
Great,
Yes,
awesome.
there is.
So,
You know what? I'll put it in the. I can put it in the chat right here too.
okay, great. I had a few people ask about it and I didn't remember the name of it. So it's great that it's on there. All right, cool. So first of all, welcome. It looks like we have about 25 people. Hopefully that will grow over the next 15 minutes or so. So after, kind of thinking long and hard about what topic we should be covering now, probably, 6 months into online meetings, something like that, maybe 5 months in, I couldn't get away from the fact that, COVID, everyone's talking about, renters not paying or businesses not having money and having to close their doors and things like that. And I was trying to think of what topic would it be that was the best match for what we're going through in this time right now, and that would also kind of translate online. So here we are. So we're talking about, if you want to go to the next slide, we're talking about the COVID-19 money hacks for real estate investors. So I'm sure a lot of the things we're going to be talking about you've already heard about on the news, in the media, online, but we did some extensive research and I think I might have a few new ones for you. Okay. All right, so the biggest thing is if you have tenants, your investment property, whether you manage it yourself or you have property managers managing it, there are, problems with people losing their jobs. Obviously, they can't pay their rent, and what do you do, right? So you're kind of stuck in a situation. I'm actually going to minimize it so I can see the whole screen. Okay. So we have localized resources that we are dealing with. One of them that most people don't realize is out there. It's a RAFT program. It's actually national, and it's through the Department of Housing and Community Development. And RAFT is basically, it stands for Residential Assistance for Families in Transition. So it covers families to prevent them from losing their housing, and also people who are already homeless. So it helps them get back into housing. So you can find that right online, the DHCD. Also, we have benefited from directly working with Endeavors, which is the last paragraph there, endeavors.org. They have literally cut us checks for people who have lost their income due to COVID. They go there to the Endeavors group. There is usually an office locally. We have one here in Fayetteville. And they basically just have to go there, request help. They fill out some paperwork, and we get a check that's delivered to us, not to the tenant. So we can apply it towards their balance. It catches them up to $2,000. So we have benefited from that quite a bit. If somebody is, kind of more than a month or two past due the 60-day plus mark, they are just jumping right in there. It's not a lot of paperwork, and it's totally worth getting that check in the mailbox. So we had about a handful, I'd say 6, out of which we have had 4 apply for the Endeavor Fund, and we've gotten 1 check because it takes about 3 weeks to go through. So we've gotten 1 $2,000 check, and the other 3 are en route. So it's something that is also, it's a national grant fund that they work out of. So there is a local, office, I'm sure. If not, then you can do it online. So what we did is, a lot of times residents aren't aware. They're just kind of sitting there and worrying and stressing out about it all, and they can't pay their rent. So we put together an email that basically said, you obviously have an arrearage. We want to catch you up. We want to help you. Here are some local resources. If you reach out, this is the phone number, this is the name, this is the address, go there. And we were already on file after the first one, so it just was like clockwork after that. So that's my best advice for getting the money directly into your hands versus having it go into the tenant's hand, and then maybe you don't always get it. So here's that. Okay. So how do you recover the lost income? So there is something called, and this is new for me, I've just learned about this recently because of all this COVID stuff. There is something called a business interruption insurance coverage. I don't know if your policy has it through your business insurance or not, but this BI insurance is intended to compensate for income lost based on particular types of loss. So there are terms, in the clauses and so on in the policy. What you want to look for are the keywords. The first one is civil authority coverage, and that's where you have an executive order that has said your business has to close for a period of time or certain restrictions are in place. Also, another terminology that you kind of phrase you want to look for, supply chain coverage. If there's an interruption in how you can get the things that you need to run your business, that's one of them that kind of, sets off that domino effect with that one. And then the infectious disease coverage. So in short, obviously read your policies, and just because you call your insurance company and say, hey, can I get covered? And they say no, look deeper, read the fine print, because a lot of times insurance companies will say no. And then when you go back and look a little deeper or get a third party adjuster involved, they can actually find things or know about things that you may not see, right on the surface of it all. So that's one way to recover lost income. There's more. Okay, so the other resources for small businesses. So we've all, I'm sure, heard of the Small Business Administration or the SBA.gov. They offer all kinds of things. The things we've seen in the media, all over the news, all over the internet, the banks are going crazy, backed up with writing all these loan applications for the loans. But these are the 4 primary. So just in case you didn't have them all in front of you, the Paycheck Protection Program, the PPP, you have the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and they call it the EIDL, E-I-D-L, and then Express Loan, Bridge Loan, and then Debt Relief, which is basically a deferment loan. So if you go to your local or online to the SBA.gov or your Small Business Development Center locally, they can actually put you in touch with the right people, the right applications, how you can kind of, go down that road and knock on those doors and get it going for yourself. Okay. All right. So there's
Cheryl, I have a question. Do you want them now or do you want to wait until the end?
Oh, please, as we go, that'd be great. In fact, if I had my way, I know that there's a lot of background noise, but I would love it if people could be audible, like unmuted, and we can just talk freely, but whatever your decision is.
So what is that what you were talking about, business interruption? Is that the same thing as loss of rent coverage? That's the question.
Nope, 2 different things entirely.
Okay.
Yep. Loss of rent coverage is a different, so the first thing, BI, is literally your general liability business policy, versus the other is specific to lost rent. So 2 different things.
All right.
Okay. All right. So what other grants are out there? There's a lot. So I'm going to kind of go through them little by little. I did a ton of research just because I knew about the basic ones. I heard about a few others, but I wanted to make sure I didn't leave any stone unturned. So some of these you're going to, like, who is this? What is that? But I dug in a little bit. So hopefully these things are helpful. This one, Street Shares Foundation, is specific to veterans, active duty members, or the spouse of a military veteran or active duty member. So you can receive up to $5,000. It's an application. It has to get judged and approved. It's good for, everybody who runs a business that has any relationship to the military in those ways that I just said. So Street Shares, it's called streetshares.com, I think it is. It could be .org, but if you type in, Google it, I'm sure it'll come up. The logo is right here on the screen, so you'll know what you're looking for. So that's one. And the next one is the Caleb Brown Urban Entrepreneurs Community Grant. So I've never heard of Caleb Brown, but I looked into him when I was, doing this, and it's actually a pretty cool situation. So it's a venture capital and consulting project. It hosts $1,000 grant aimed at promoting and nurturing urban entrepreneurs. So cities, we're talking, the city of Fayetteville, the city of Raleigh, Durham, or wherever, with a vision to a plan to rebuild local blocks, neighborhoods, and communities. So I was looking for things that were specific to housing and, development. So what you're looking to do with this one, and you want to read all of the eligibility criteria and the grant information, and it will spell it out for you. But you really want to put something together that will appeal to them, where you're providing training and jobs to the next generation through rebuilding. Okay. All right, the next one is kind of one that people don't really think of as a grant, somebody who's given out grants. So it's the USDA Rural Development Business Grant. So the Department of Agriculture is now providing loans, generally speaking, for mortgages and so on, but it also provides grants to businesses and co-ops in rural areas that create jobs. So specifically, they fund projects for housing, community-based facilities, and other services. So that's a pretty good one, and it's government-backed, and it's a grant. And as you know, with grants, you don't have to pay it back. So if you have something that qualifies, you can go on to, I have one for you. If you go on to the SuperNOFA, N-O-F-A, Notice of Funding Availability, .com on the government site, federal, they will have a list of all of the grants that are available with all eligibility criteria, everything on there, so you can see what you can write a grant for, what you can qualify for, and don't assume in advance like, I won't get that. I was working for a nonprofit 501c3 up in Boston area next to Harvard. It was called Charlesview Development. And basically, we applied for grants. I had never written a grant before in my entire life. Back then, and I'm kind of dating myself, you couldn't just go online and do stuff like that. So I went to the local Borders or whatever it was, Barnes & Noble, and I bought probably about a dozen books on grant writing. It was, I'd never done it. So I did grant writing for dummies and all of those different ones. One of them was a really thick book, but it came with one of those CDs you could pop in the hard drive of your computer. And basically it brought up this program where you could fill in all of the blanks. So over the course of about 2.5 years, we wrote grants that exceeded over $8 million. And it was really awesome. We were able to bring computer literacy for the elderly in our community. We were able to do a resident coordination program. We did something called a youth wrap grant, where we set up, an after-school program for the kids. We also did a business grant for a junior entrepreneurial program. So we actually created a coffee shop where we could teach the kids how to do each aspect of the business, and it was all through a grant. And at the time, the city's mayor, Mayor Menino, actually came out and did the ribbon cutting with us and all of that. So my point is grant writing isn't very difficult as long as you kind of look at all the fine print, cross your T's and dot your I's, and just follow the instructions, and you'll be surprised at what you're awarded.
Very cool. Cheryl, you had asked a few minutes ago about questions. Everybody on the call has the ability to unmute themselves. So if,
awesome.
So if you wanted to call on somebody, or if somebody didn't want to put a question in the chat, they can just ask it.
Yeah, it's just, the reason why is because when you're speaking to the screen and there's not people in front of you and you can't see reactions and faces and questions are coming at you live, you're kind of talking into this black hole. So it's kind of nice to have the ability to hear, if somebody has a question, so we can kind of interact as we go.
Yep, just remember to mute yourselves after you're done so we don't have that background noise.
Great. Okay, so the next one, can you hit the button one more time? I think it's missing a spot there. There you go. So this one, I don't know who NAV is, NAVs, but it's called the Legify Your Small Business Grant. I was kind of trying to dig in a little bit more, but the cool thing that I found out, and in fact, it's not even, you can't even see it on here, but the guy who's actually on the $10,000 bill, I didn't know if anybody had ever heard or knew who that person was. So it was kind of funny when I saw his face come up. I'm like, who's that guy? So I Googled him and I wanted to know. And sure enough, it's this guy named Samuel Chase. He was the Secretary of the Treasury for President Lincoln. So it's kind of like, oh, that's cool, $10,000, little, factoid trivia there. But the
I
bottom
didn't
line
know
is
there was a $10,000 bill.
it's the highest denomination in the U.S. currency that's currently, So if you ever get your hands on one of those, take pictures, share, and then put it in the safe. All right. So they offer $10,000 small business grant to the most deserving business that applies. The application is easy. I looked at it online, and they're really looking for almost kind of like a really unique, quirky personality kind of thing. And it's good for existing businesses. So they're not looking for something brand new, like an idea. They want something that has a little history that they can help fund, help build up. So it was kind of a cool one, I thought, legitify your small business. I hadn't quite heard of that word being used mainstream, so I thought it was neat. Okay, so past the grant situation, working in property management, one of the biggest things or conversations that I have with our clients is when somebody doesn't pay, and especially right now with what's going on, is when do you evict? When do you and when don't you? So I've had a lot of these conversations lately, like I said. The situation today, just FYI, is very, very, very different than what it will be post-COVID when things recover. But right now, the situation is that the courts are backlogged, and I can't speak to other types of, proceedings. But when it comes to ejection, ejectments, it's called in the executive order, or evictions. I know that when I file today, I don't get a court date for about 4 to 6 months out. So what happens in that situation, and if you think about the due process, what happens is we go down there, we fill out the paperwork, we pay a fee. The fee goes to the clerk's office and goes to the sheriff's department. They serve that person. So now this person has a notice that says you're going to be in court in 4 to 6 months. So what's the first thing that they're going to do? They think, oh, I don't have to pay my rent for the next 4 to 6 months. They have free rent, right? That's what they're thinking. They're not thinking about the long-term effects that it's going to have on their civil record, the fact that they'll have an eviction on their record, or the fact that they have that credit, that debt on their record that they're going to have to pay if they want to, say, buy a house someday or a new car. That's going to come up and that's going to haunt them. But if they're thinking about today, what is my situation today? They're going to think that they can get away with not paying that rent. And in many cases, they're going to permanently get away with that. So the conversation that I've been having has been, okay, so do we want to really try to work with these people who have lost their jobs due to COVID? Absolutely. Let's enter into a repayment agreement and so on and so forth, provided that they can show us, yes, I lost my income due to COVID. Do you have the documentation and all of that, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But once you get that notice out there and they're served, you're committed to that period of time. If they don't pay in that period of time, then, you're out that rental income, right? In the case where we talked about endeavors earlier, all the people that we actually had on the past due balance that was mounting since April, instead of doing an eviction, we actually sent them to endeavors, and we're processing payment for them to catch them up. And then we entered into an agreement for the balance. So they're staying in place and we're not evicting. However, we had some prior situations where there were some evictions pre-COVID, and I went to court on Friday, and I can tell you 2 of them were completely thrown out. And we got one that was granted for the eviction itself, where we're going to be able to go through the 10-day appeal period and then go in and file for the writ of possession, which will basically be awarded 7 days later. So we got one. And the magistrate basically said, do you play baseball? You like baseball? And I said, no, what do you mean? And he said, well, an average is, it's pretty good for baseball. You got 1 out of 3, And I was like, oh my gosh, because the other 2 were huge balances. And There was nothing. I felt like I was kicked in the gut. You know, there was nothing I could do, but he sent me out to refile. And the reason for all of this is coming up in the next slide, if you want to click over. So there's something called the CARES Act, and I'm sure you've all heard of it, but how it affects you in court is when you go in and you file an eviction, they're going to have you fill out all the regular paperwork, including the Service Members Civil Act and all of that. But also there's an additional form that you have to fill out. And it basically asks a very important question: is this home or structure financed by federally backed mortgage, Fannie Mae, you know, or any other that is federally backed? If the answer is yes, then this particular tenant, renter, is covered by this CARES Act. So there is a time frame between July 26th is when it went into effect. So anything after that date till today, you have to reserve and start the whole process all over again if you didn't complete the CARES Act form after July 26th. So it's kind of a big deal because if you're sitting and you're waiting and you're waiting and you finally get your day in court, so to speak, and you go in and it's kicked out because of a piece of paper that, you know, maybe an executive order that's federal, and, you know, I was basically told by, you know, the magistrate that here in Fayetteville for the Cumberland County Courthouse that Justice Beasley was the one who had done the executive order for the state of North Carolina. Because of that paper, even though we didn't know about it, it was kicked out and we had to refile. So we're doing that, but it's going to cost us that many more months. So it's a real serious conversation to have, to look at, you know, the moratoriums once they're lifted, the time frames, you know, what's worth it. You know, if it's something that's specific to COVID income that they've lost, I would highly recommend going for resource-based programs for financial aid for them, and then also work out a repayment plan as opposed to getting them out, because you're going to look at turnover cost and vacancy loss for that anyway. So I hope that helps a little bit with the CARES Act situation. They're very serious about it. Yeah.
Cheryl, are you refiling because you don't have federally backed mortgages, or are you refiling because you now waited the 30 days?
So this particular one, the other ones that went through weren't CARES Act or backed by a federal mortgage. So those went through no problem. The one that was federally backed, they asked us to refile because the CARES Act form wasn't included in the original filing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
And do they just ask you, is it federally backed? Or do they just take your word for it that it's a commercial loan, or do you have to provide any documentation?
So you fill out this form that's basically an affidavit, and you check a box. It says, yes, it is, or no, it isn't. And it says, if it's federally backed, which mortgage, you know, is it backed by? Is it Fannie Mae or whatever? So I truthfully, you know, filled out this form, and the other ones happened to already be like free and clear, so they didn't qualify for the CARES Act. But this one in particular did, and there's a Fannie Mae mortgage on it. So I wrote, you know, check the box, and I wrote in Fannie Mae. So he asked me, because you're under oath, you know, and he asked me and said, you know, I appreciate your honesty. You know, is this in fact the case? And I said, yes, it is, you know, and I'm like, please don't give me bad news. But unfortunately, right after that, I got the kick to the gut, and he said, I have to dismiss this, and you can refile with the form included. So it gives the tenant another, basically they require another 30 days notice to that tenant because of the CARES Act. But it's going to cost us another 4 to 6 months because they can't see us in court, right, until then. So.
Are you seeing many tenants milk the system with this?
Yeah, definitely. I think people, well, I shouldn't say that. I hear about a lot. We've been really lucky personally, like business-wise, that other than maybe 1 or 2 that we're dealing with directly, most of them all have come forward because we sent out, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, a tenant hardship form to everybody. So on April 1st, we sent out our COVID-19 kind of announcement. This is what we're doing. We're going to waive late fees. if you have any hardship or loss of income, please contact us right away. And then we sent them, the people who did, which is about a half dozen, we sent them this hardship request form. And in it, it asked the questionnaire that we created. And I'm happy to share it. If you email me, I'll give it to you. And so basically, it's a questionnaire that said, you know, when did you stop working? It asked for supporting documentation, like all of these things, right? So the people that we're dealing with, thankfully, most of them, they are extremely conscientious and they want to stay where they are. However, I have heard about several, and we have one right now in particular that is not covered under the CARES Act, but we have one that is, which is the one I'm talking about. Completely melted. I mean, beyond, you know, the milk turned into cream. So it was really bad, really bad. You know, basically just kind of, but couldn't produce any documentation either. So I don't think it was really backed up and realistic, you know, what they were claiming. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, so we can go to the next. So hardship agreements. So really it's important to know what the facts are. Without the repayment plan, you can't get there without the supporting documents, I should say. So you want to get a letter from the employer. You want to make sure you have a statement from the unemployment benefits that they would have received. Based on what I've seen so far, I would say the majority of people that have received benefits received enough that were equivalent to or more than their pay prior. So some of them are paying with it and some of them are just pocketing it, kind of to speak to Cindy's question. So if you can, you know, come up with a repayment plan that's realistic, and you provide them with other resources to bring their balance down, it is a win-win, you know, long term. But you want to get everything, and that's why we do the form, is we want to put it in the file. We want them to, basically it's a self-affidavit, right? They're writing down, this is what's going on. This is supported by this documentation that I'm giving you from my boss, my employer, or whatever, and put it in the file folder. So that way you have the documents, and then you want to create an actual repayment plan in writing that says, you know, they owe $2,000 or $1,000 or whatever it is. And, you know, what's realistic? So what we've been doing is offering kind of in that 1 to 150 range in addition to their normal rent. So when they go back to work, their first month, you know, is paid obviously. And then we ask them, you know, to kick in an extra 100 and 150, something like that a month. And we spread that out over however many months that is. And we put it in writing. We make sure they sign it and date it. So everybody is on the same page. And if they don't keep to it, and it just holds them a little bit more, you know, accountable to what they're saying they're going to do. And I've had 2 people actually submit those to us. We signed it, the whole thing, you know, the virtual handshake, so to speak. And I got 2 emails in this last week saying, hi, I had a problem with my car. I can't keep to the agreement this week, but I'm going to pay you double next week. So they're definitely feeling more tied to it and accountable. So getting it in writing is key, and getting all that supporting documentation. And that way in the future too, if they claim something or whatever, you know, you have it. You have that backup, which is always a good thing. Okay. All right, so I hope you found that to be helpful. You know, feel free to ask any questions. My email is right there on the screen. My phone number is there. As from what I understand, they, you know, TREIA is going to put this up there as far as the recording goes, so anyone can come back and take a look at it if they have any questions. And I hope that was helpful.
This was great, Cheryl. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good to see you.
Yes, good Tuesday. I'm glad that I actually see faces, you know, all of the faces I don't see. It makes me sad, you know, and I see Tucker. Hey, Tucker. Cindy, and I obviously, you know, have met several of you coming to the Facebook, the Fayetteville TREIA in person, but, you know, I hope to see you all on the main meeting, and then when the meetings start to become live again, that would be really cool. Yeah. And by the way, thanks, Tucker, for the referral.
Oh, good. I'm glad he reached out to you.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah, actually I did, speaking of the in-person meetings, just since North Carolina's moved into phase 2.5 now, 2 3/4, whatever we are. Do we have any kind of projection or timeline as to when we might be meeting again in person? Obviously, I think like the big meeting's probably not going to happen because that's like well over a couple hundred, but for a group this size, do we have any kind of idea on that?
I asked the same question earlier, and I'm sure they can fill you right in.
Sorry, I missed it.
No, no, no. It was before you guys logged in. So
Yeah, we talked about it before the meeting, and it's a combination of factors. Many venues won't let us meet yet. The ones here in the Triangle that we use have not. We cannot. I don't know about Cheryl's venue, but it's kind of going to be up to the subgroup leader and the venue and the
The
participants' comfort level. So it's the combination of those three factors, and we're just sort of playing it by ear.
is it okay to ask that if you are willing to meet in person wearing a mask, if you can either put it in the chat box and let us know the affirmative or negative to that option? Just curious. Or just, raise your hand like, yeah, I want to meet in person.
Yeah, for those of you who would go to the Fayetteville meetings in person, can you let us know how you feel about that, one way or the other?
Or even in general, just for the main meeting or subgroups up there.
Yeah, we definitely can't do the main because that's too large.
Yeah, no. Plus,
Thanks, James.
the venues won't allow us to. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love to start up again in person. That's what we're waiting for. But until it's, if there's only 20, 25 people, then you've got to socially distance. But then there's still people that are still uncomfortable about, even just going to the grocery store, even with a mask on. So would they sit for a couple of hours in a room with 20 or 25 other people, even if everybody was wearing a mask?
And up here, we're in touch with all of our venues pretty much every couple of weeks, and so far none of them have said we can come back yet. So that's the main thing. If you're allowed, then once you're allowed, then you can say, is the subgroup leader comfortable, and you have enough people who are comfortable. But the kind of threshold issue is if your venue is going to permit it. Do you know anything about your venue, Cheryl?
Yeah, we actually have a big room that's in our building where we rent our office space from, lease our office, and it's open. I actually manage the space, so we're good.
Oh, well, that's easy. Okay.
Yeah,
you don't have
you
that
got
problem.
an advantage over us. That's
you guys should just play it by ear. Cindy Veit says she's willing. Gracie Williams says depending on how large the area and how many are present.
And maybe we can do, like I was saying earlier, like a seat or two in between, and we can always abbreviate the lengths of the meeting too to less time, kind of pack in more too. So
that's true. Cindy just, I don't know if you guys have the reactions button. It's next to the share screen, I think.
Oh yeah, it's to the right of it, yeah.
Yeah, it's to the right, but if you're on the call and you would be interested,
you can do a thumbs up.
Give the thumbs up.
I just saw Tucker do it. I've never done that before. Thanks, Tucker.
Yeah, I just followed suit.
We're learning stuff from the millennials and the centennials. By the way, Gracie, I see you there. I wish you were live, though. I must say, I'd like to see your pretty face, but go live next time, Gracie Williams.
Here she is.
Oh, there you are. She's driving. That's why.
In the car. Driving, are you? You're not driving.
She is.
Okay, no zooming and driving.
Griffith Feeney got his camera going. Hey, Griffith.
I would love to ask,
awesome.
Have this moment right now can you all put in the chat what topics you would like to see for next month in general for the meeting, because we've kind of gone through the usual and we're kind of digging to see what we can come up with for a good topic that's interesting, that draws people in, that is appropriate to what we're going through right now. So if you can think of anything and you don't have time to put in the chat box, email me because I would love to hear ideas about that, and we'll put some things together. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we would love ideas. If you guys, in fact, have any suggestions and ideas for any meetings or speakers or classes or anything, we'd love to hear them either in the chat or TREIAprojects@gmail.com. Or, you know, if it's for Fayetteville, send it to Cheryl.
We'll do our best to make it happen.
Yeah,
Just
sure will.
tell us your ideas there, or what you think we haven't covered so far this year, even though we've been doing virtual. There may be some subjects that are still.
Oh, Cindy Veit has a good one. Financing rentals during COVID. That's I had a refinance.
Oh, that'd be great.
I had a refinance on 6 of my rentals, all approved and ready to go in March. And they came back, it was Lima 1, and they said, no. But they are, Cindy, they are opening up back now. And I've actually gotten a lot of suggestions. If I get the wherewithal within the next few days, put those together, I'll send you a list of the ones that have been recommended to me. I have checked some of them. In fact, I started down the road with someone else, and then they don't work in Boone where some of my rentals were. So I've had several false starts, but they are making rental loans now. Some places are. So I'll try to marshal those together and get them to.
Awesome.
Anyone
Thanks.
else? Anyone else? We'd love to hear it. Again, if you want to be on the list for the real life rehab project, let us know that too. Information's going out next week. Our waiting list is full, so new class will be starting soon.
Yep.
I love this reaction button.
I can't make mine work.
Mine does. I think, no, I didn't try.
I'm clicking on it and it's doing nothing. So disappointed.
Oh, I got a heart.
I'm clapping.
Oh, you're clapping or slapping? No.
I hope it's clapping.
Oh yeah, it's clapping. No, maybe you said
We have another topic suggestion from Osman Navarro. How to calculate operational expenses for rental properties in RVA calculation.
Okay, that was a mouthful. What the heck did it mean? We probably do need to have a class on that if nobody knows what it means.
That is kind of, Osman, were you on, what was the meeting where we had Peter Chang and Avi? They talked about that a little on that meeting.
I think so, yeah. They were explaining, I mean, they explained a little bit about how to calculate like operational expenses when you have a rental property. You know, they were like 5% on vacancies, like 5% on big expenses. So they have a whole list of items that you're supposed to be like taking in account if you want to manage a property, right? So I think that would be something interesting just to learn, not for newbies. I mean, I'm one of them, so.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
That would actually be a good Saturday, like half session day, because to truly be able to.
I think they'd be a little bit more involved in doing it in an hour, wouldn't it?
Yeah, to be able to really break down how do you evaluate a rental property, because that's very different than how you would evaluate the numbers on a
rehab.
That's a good call out.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Anybody else?
Pleasure seeing you all.
Good to see you, Cheryl.
Okay,
Great.
I know, expenses for rental properties. No, that was on rehabs. There's that feature in our premium website, remember, that Mike Jacka went over, but that wasn't for rental properties, that was for rehabs, right? Yeah, I think so.
That was rehab.
Yeah.
Hey, I have a request. When I wanted to email the speaker from the other night, if in the description you could put the speaker's email address, that'd be really neat. Or anyone that spoke during the meeting, or how to contact them, so then you don't have to go through all the slides.
Of the contact information of the
Of the speaker?
of
Yes.
of the speaker that, yeah, as long as the speaker is
Okay with it. Yeah.
is good with it, we could probably add that.
Yeah, some speakers don't want us to, but yeah.
Yeah, as long as they're good.
Which one were you talking about, Cindy?
Yeah, we can get it for you.
The call on Tuesday night.
Was that
Um,
Tracy Fowler?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a friend of mine. I can, yeah, I don't think she'll mind. I can send you her email address.
Okay.
Is that recording up yet, Cal?
I don't think so. I need to go on tonight and get caught up. I think I have about 3 I need to get up. I got them up on YouTube, but I just got to get them over to the website.
Yeah, she's going to do a second one too. I think it's for
Wire.
Expire, right? Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be speaking at the WIRE meeting this month.
Are you?
Yeah.
Is that tomorrow?
No.
No, that's
Last-
2 weeks.
last
2 weeks today.
Okay. Oh, it's Advanced Investor tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah, we're actually, it's obviously women in real estate. So I was thinking a lot about what topics should I talk about. And I kept thinking about all these mainstream topics. And I'm like, why am I thinking that way? And then I started looking into women real estate investors and, you know, what makes them innately, you know, awesome at this business. And I came up with a lot of really cool stuff when I was researching it. So I think that, you know, the WIRE women in real estate are going to love what we found out, you know, about what's just wired in our DNA to be really good at this business.
Excellent.
Yeah. Not that I'm taking away anything from anyone else, you know. It's a balancing act. We need everybody.
It is.
So.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think I'm all set. I hope you guys have a great night, and I'm gonna
You
peace out.
too. Thanks for coming, everybody, and everybody stay
Thanks,
safe.
everyone.
Bye.
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 Bye. Thanks.